Welcome to the Built for Anything podcast. I am your host, Hertz, and I got a really fun podcast lined up for you today. Today, my guest is Kenecia Lashae, who is a traveler, public speaker, entrepreneur, and just a really fun person to talk to. Really great personality. In this podcast, we talk about her love of traveling, which she's been to over 40 countries and 5 different continents. Okay, it's just amazing, some of the places that she's been to and some of the experiences that she's had. But we also dig a little deeper where we talk about some of the difficulties in maintaining real relationships as a result of moving around so much, as well as some of her future endeavors that she has lined up, businesses that she's planned for. So it's going to be a really interesting and fun podcast. Okay, I know you guys are going to really enjoy it. So we talk about a lot of different things, much more. And so without further ado, I have Kenecia Lashae. Enjoy the podcast, people. Enjoy the podcast. I have the beautiful Kenecia Lashae. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So let's start off talking a little bit about yourself and some of the things that you're into.
Let's see. I like dollars. No, there's too much Cardi B. I love her, by the way. I am originally from Dallas-Fort Worth.
Okay.
And I grew up here in this heat, and then I decided that I wanted to go to school, and I went to college at Texas Southern University down in Houston, which is just a 4-hour drive from here. And Houston was great. Texas is amazing, but I always wanted to see more.
Houston's pretty humid, right?
It's humid, but it's like hot is hot. It's like hot breath or, hot skillet. It's just all hot to me. So I don't know. I got used to it really fast. It was, it was a good transition. I could still come home here and see my family and my old friends from high school. But after you graduate from college, it's like, now what, right? You're supposed to work and you're supposed to do all this amazing stuff. And it's just kind of like, it's not really how it happened for me. And I just kind of sought more. One thing that I really got into was makeup. And at that time, it wasn't all these YouTubers, or even Instagram, it wasn't any of that stuff. So I kind of had to learn what I could from word of mouth, asking people like, how do I get into this? Practicing on my own, building my little kit, it was a transition because I think everyone thought that I would have like this corporate career. So I kind of battled with that. And then I decided that if I was going to do what I wanted to do, I should leave Texas. And I'm like, okay, where am I going to go? So I'm like, Atlanta. I'm going to go to Atlanta. And I ended up working for MAC Cosmetics there. And that's kind of how my career started and kind of how I got out of
It's a pretty
Texas.
Popular...
Yeah,
MAC is,
isn't it?
From what the way women just kind of go crazy for MAC.
It was like a sorority back in the day. Like to get in, it was really hard. I think I applied like 3 times. Now it's a lot more lenient, but it was really a big deal. Like it was like the Ivy League of makeup. And I got to Atlanta, where everything is popping. I'm like young and hot out there, and I don't know, it was a really good experience for me to leave Texas and then also leave behind like this idea of what I thought I should be doing and do something that I was really passionate about. And so got my first opportunity there and kind of, it didn't stop, right? It didn't stop. It kept going. But Atlanta was kind of like the place where I saw other people of color let their freak flag fly, so to speak. Like you had artists, because that's where like a lot of the music comes from.
Right. Big music scene over there.
Big music. So, you
and they work together too. That's one of the things.
They do. It's like, I've heard it being called Black Hollywood. And I have to agree with that because it's just so much going on there all the time. And you can really be creative. You can be an artist. There was a spoken word cafe called Apache that I used to, frequent on like a Tuesday. And it was just so freeing to hear beautiful brown and black people speak words of inspiration and power and being able to just be themselves. I mean, some of it was a little ratchet. We're not going to talk about Linux on a Saturday. I'm not going to take you there. It's not that type of interview right now. But it was very colorful, and I could really appreciate that. It just made me feel stronger as an artist, you know?
Well, you know, one of the big reasons why I asked you to come on this podcast is because, and I'm sure the listeners are hearing this now, you're someone who's not afraid of change, right?
True.
The fact that you have decided to pick up, you went to Atlanta, you're experiencing different things, go-getter. I admire that because I know that there's a lot of different reasons why people tend not to take a leap forward in terms of the things that they're into. Yeah. And so all these different experiences, I'm sure, shaped you into the person that you are today. And so, you know, Atlanta being one place, but even like, we'll talk about your bio a little bit, like on Instagram and what, because I always try to ask people, like, how would you categorize yourself, right? So how would you categorize yourself? You are what? Speaker, what? Traveler?
I don't know. I'm a cosmic force of nature built for anything, right? That's what we're here for. Yeah, you know what? It changes, right? And back to change. Change is good sometimes. And it's also inevitable. And so I find that when you kind of fold into the change, it just works a lot better for you. I mean, it's always something on the other side of that change, right? So for me, it's just kind of in my nature. It's just second nature to do that. But at this very moment in life where I am today, I am a traveler. I am a speaker. I am actually about to be an author. So that's really exciting. And just a lover of life. I really feel like for the first time that I'm living and that I'm alive, like I'm present. I'm in this moment. And I think that I could not have done that without change and allowing change to be change.
So what sparked, if you had to think of the day of that where you decided, you know what, I'm a traveler. I really like to go to different places. I have a desire to seek out, because I'm sure a lot of people sit at home, right? They watch TV, they see fancy places like Bali, and, you know, they're watching their favorite show. They see that, you know, these people traveling, and they figure, oh, I got to have a lot of money in order to do that. And they just kind of go back to their regular life and hope that they could go on vacation and maybe go to Miami, you know, where what did it for you where you were like, you know, I not only want to go somewhere else, but I'm going to go to another country. I'm going to go miles and miles away and see what things are like there. Like, what did that for you?
Okay, so naturally, I am curious. And I think that it started for me as a child.
What's your sign again?
Pisces.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm somewhere between Rihanna and Erykah Badu, you know, get in there. But people have a backyard, you know, right? And it's just a backyard. Or it could be a place of the unknown. You know, I would go out into the backyard and I would touch the flowers and look for different birds. And I mean, I was very independent, and I kind of really didn't enjoy playing with other kids because then I'd have to do what they want to do. So it was just who I am as an explorer. As I got older, I think that I remember when you say Bali, I remember that I Googled when Google became like, you know, the thing, and I Googled Bali, you know, I didn't even know where it was. I just heard someone saying it on TV or something like that in a quick picture. And when I searched and I hit images, oh my God, my mind was so blown that something like this in real life could exist. Like I thought something like this could only be beautiful if you painted it or it was just not real. And I think that kind of like sparked like, I can go here? How can I go there? You know? And my first international trip was not Bali. That came much later, but it was Milan, Italy. I worked with a photographer because I made my way from Atlanta to New York because I decided that if I'm going to be a makeup artist, New York City or Los Angeles is where it is, right? And I had this weird thing, like I wanted to really leave the country, but all my friends and my family was like, oh, that's a little, I don't know, try New York, you know? So I did. And when I got to New York.
I was just going to ask you, how was New York? Because coming from Texas to Atlanta, it's still the South.
It's still the South.
It's still you know,
hot.
the coast, right? And then transition New York. Me being from New York, I know for a fact it's two different worlds.
Oh my
How was it for you?
God bless my soul that I even made it. I mean, it was really hard, but I think that I was like super determined. But it was hard. Like it was never like in New York. As soon as you catch your breath, something else is happening. So I went through so many different things with like finding an apartment, then getting an apartment, and then it had bed bugs in the apartment. And you're just like, can I just live? Getting my first client, then not getting another call for 2 months. Then, makeup is expensive. And if you're working with celebrity clients, you need top MAC was still good, but there was like other brands, Laura Mercier, Smashbox, Hourglass. I mean, these brands that were a little bit of a higher caliber, like Chanel, Dior. You got to have money for that. So it just, New York was either I eat or I buy this blush, like for a while. Do you know what I mean? But then I think I just never gave up. I never let it get me down. I never looked at whatever someone else was doing or whatever somebody was saying. I just focused. And I was having a lot of fun because New York City is 24 hours nonstop fun.
Yep.
There is never a time where you can't find something to do.
Oh, yeah.
So New York,
how long
for
were
me,
you there again?
10 years.
So okay.
I just hit my 10-year mark over the summer, but I've since left, and explored the world at large. But New York for me was fantastic. I got to be an actual makeup artist. Is exactly what I said I wanted to do when some people in my life didn't really understand what a makeup artist was. I got to actually make this happen. And it was exciting because I would go on set and I, have these beautiful models to do. And I've had amazing clients. I've worked with Morris Chestnut in grooming. I've worked with A$AP Rocky. I've done makeup for Nia Long, Adrienne Ballion. Her last name changed. Don't we? Her last name, Adrienne's last name changed, but because she's married now. But I've worked with so many amazing people.
She's on The View, right?
She's on The Real.
The Real?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Could you imagine? Oh my God. There's such a fun cast. But just amazing models. Ebony Davis, I remember when I worked with Ebony Davis back when we were at Rainbow Shops, and she was just such a profound young lady, and I would enjoy working with her in our conversation. And now, to me, she's an activist. She's really a Renaissance woman, and she's speaking for the people, and she owns her own beauty. So I've gotten a chance to work with some amazing people and know some of the most incredible people. And I'm just from Fort Worth, Texas, and I got to live this life, and I feel very successful, and I feel like I did go to New York and do exactly what I said I wanted to do. I mean, I struggled with the subways, taking that 50-pound kit up and down when I started out, and just so many different struggles, but it was worth it.
They call New York School of Hard Knocks.
Literally.
So it's like you literally learn at a fast pace. And it's funny because I remember even when I came here, I had to slow things down. Because when I was at my current, my previous job, I was just so aggressive because I just, in New York, you just have to be. You literally have to snatch what it is right then and there. You got to go after it. And here it's like people want to kind of be finessed a little bit, and they want a little bit of time to kind of to come around. They want to be wooed a little bit. And so I remember a young lady was like, she's like, Hurts. She's like, you're just too aggressive. She's like, don't worry. She's like, don't do it. She's like, but, and I'm like, all right. So I remember I took her advice and I was just like, okay, I'll sit down with people and we'll talk. And I'll be like, all right, get to me back on Monday or Tuesday. It was more, they wanted to feel the warmth.
Yeah, baby, we chopped and screwed.
Yeah,
we keeping it true. Just chill out. It's not a big deal here. It's gonna get done, and you're gonna have a good time knowing some really good people. So it's definitely by far night and day.
I agree.
To make it simple, it's like New York City is like no other place, and I do recommend everyone go visit, go work. If you can have even a year of experience there, will set you up. They say if you can make it in New York City, you can make it anywhere.
Nah, I agree.
You're built for anything.
I agree.
Literally.
I agree.
Literally.
I agree.
And that's what I mean. I would never not tell someone to try New York. And it's scary, it's hard, but it is so worth it.
It's funny. I used to meet a lot of people there that would tell me that they were from like in Arizona or somewhere else, but they would come here for experience. And because they knew, like, they would say to me like, Hurts, I'm not gonna live here 20, 30. Like they know, but they're like, they came here for the experience to have it on a resume. So when they go somewhere else, whatever field that they're in, them working in New York, even the field that I was in, me working in New York meant something in coming here, because they figured you've dealt with a certain type of clientele, you're used to that kind of pace, so they figured the environment here would be an easier transition, where I'm sure there's more concern somebody could go in the opposite direction, where it's like you got to really tell that person, like, look, what you're walking into, you know, people, you know, they some wolves out there. Like, do you want that?
It's
you know, like you really got to
slaughterhouse.
explain that to that person. Like, are you built for that? You want that?
Literally.
And some people might be like, nah. So, I definitely understand the 90 days. So you were in New York 10 years. So while you were in New York, were you still traveling other places from time to time, or you were just there the entire time?
Okay, so because it was very challenging to come to live in New York, period, and then be an entrepreneur. Like, I was not trying to work for someone. I really had this vision of, I'm going to be a makeup artist. At some point, 5 years down the line, I felt a little bit caged by New York. I felt like if I left, I was going to miss out on a client calling or an opportunity. And it is like that. You know, New York, the opportunities kind of soar in, and then they'll soar out if you're not available to the next person. So I felt a little bit captive in my own need for ambition. And then I worked with a photographer, Marco Bertoni, and a stylist. And that stylist was really incredible. His name was Nasheed Broswell. And he was like, girl, you need to be out here living your best life. And I was like, okay, Nasheed, like, you're right, but it's no but, girl, you know? And he had these relationships with photographers from all over the world. And he brought me on set. And I'll never forget, we were near the Time Warner building at a beautiful hotel. I can't remember the hotel right now. I want to say, I don't remember the hotel. I'm not going to even lie. But it was beautiful. And we did this great shoot. And it ended up in a magazine in Asia. Like, my work was international. And the photographer was so cool. He was like, you should come out to Milan. And I was like, yeah, cool. You know, it's what you say. And I thought about it a lot. And then I just started searching for tickets and keeping the energy from that shoot in my mind. And then it just worked. And I also had a friend at the time who was also born and raised in Fort Worth. She was there and she was living her best life. So I was like, you know what? I'm going. Got my passport, had my passport. It was dust, you know, all on top of it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go. And I went and I stayed for 30 days. And it changed my life. Like, guys, it changed my life. Literally. Like, I would not be here right now had I not taken that chance and say, you know what? I know jobs are going to come. I'll just go. And when I went to Milan, I worked on photo shoots. So I didn't stop working. I did more international makeup. And it was just absolutely brilliant. The gelato. Oh my gosh. If you're ever in Milan, you got to have the gelato because it's so good. It just really opened my mind. It in my
different
taste
cultures,
buds, you know,
experience.
you know, different fashion, different scene altogether. I'll never forget that.
Now, when you would travel, are you by yourself when you're doing this, or are you going with a group of your girls?
Usually, I am a solo traveler. I am usually about 90% of the time by myself. I mean, people are invited, but you know how it goes. I'm not going to pull
the way my savings is set up.
I just saw a post on Instagram and was like, I want to travel more. And then your bank account says, like, to where? Work? Yeah, I think that people have money for what they want to have money for.
Right.
If you're spending, you know, $5 to $10 every day at your favorite coffee shop, that's money that you could potentially save. And I know it sounds so mundane and so like, yeah, right. But I learned about saving from a very young age. That is one thing that I'm really good at, saving and understanding my relationship with money. I remember that when I was a kid, I got $5 for something from begging probably, but $5 that I didn't spend, and it was like months. And my mom was like, you still got that $5? And I was like, yeah, I do. She was like, you better spend it before it expires. And I was like, oh my God, it's a little trick, you know, moms. But that's how good at saving I am to potentially get something or buy something or experience something that I want that's going to enrich. I look at it as self-investment. A lot of us have graduated from college. Sometimes we don't continue education. We don't continue learning and growing. And that's when you're just really just dead. You're just walking dead.
I agree.
So I think that if you invest in yourself in ways that it enriches your life, I think that it's just amazing. And it's just what you really should do for yourself.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because when you look, especially people of color, we have the most spending power. And it's not that we don't necessarily have money, it's what are we spending money on?
Hello.
And
I can tell you what we spending money on.
Yeah, we
Jordans, strip clubs. Okay, Hennessy.
Alcohol.
I'm gonna go with Remy #1, B, because that's the most popular. Yeah.
So it's all about your priorities.
Yep.
And I think for you, and I think the message that I would hope a lot of people understand is that the experiences last longer
forever
than, I guess, the initial gratification of, buying a shirt or buying jeans or buying a belt. That's $300.
Yeah.
That's, these expensive items that it loses its touch at some point.
Yeah.
It will. You get in your hands a month later,
Yeah.
it don't feel the same.
Yeah.
But the memories, the experiences of traveling to certain places, the people you may meet. Now, have you created any type of relationships with people that friendly or people that
with
you
me?
met?
You trying to ask me about my love life when I'm international player known?
Hey, I'm just saying.
No, finish.
Yeah, so in terms of your experiences, right? You traveling, do you develop any relationships with people, just friends? Or
you should see my WhatsApp. It's more popping than my regular message, because people connect with me on a different level. I think that they appreciate me more and I appreciate them more. As a friend, I'm more interesting to them because I lived in New York City, or just the vernacular, the way that I am. And to me, they're also very special too because they're a part of that experience for me. So my WhatsApp is popping. People from Tanzania still keep in touch with me. People from Kenya still, and I love technology for that purpose because I don't know that it'd be pretty expensive to keep up with people, that I've met on all of these travels, because it would be $1.99 a minute? Come on. And I think that those relationships that you build are more genuine. It's something about when you're traveling, you're a little bit more open, a little bit more of your pure self, if that makes any sense. So people gravitate towards you and you can kind of receive them, and they can help you with your journey or tell you about a really great local spot or a fashion house that you would have never known about. So I have some of the most amazing people that still reach out to me to this day. And that's just bomb. That's literally, dope. They check up on me, especially with this crazy ass president. They check on me. They want to know I'm okay. That I'm not out here, sad or bored. And I'm always welcome to return and visit again. And they look forward to it. And I do too. Some places I definitely will be going back for sure. Now,
in terms of the culture, name the places that you've been to. Because I know we haven't cut off we'll go into a few of them, but name all the places. I just want the audience to have an idea of some of the places that you have been to.
Chad, how much video you got? Okay, gosh, okay, hold on. You know what? I did write it down.
Okay.
You didn't think I was
so
prepared,
she's pulling out her phone right now, guys.
I'm getting my life together.
She wrote notes for the podcast
because I just didn't know what he was going to come up with, so I had to just figure it out.
You see, it's a lot of places when you got to go on your phone, you got to write it down, because I could tell you right now without even thinking, for me, it ain't 40 plus countries.
Okay.
That's for sure. So
some of these are missing. So I'm just going to start with what I have.
And this is over a what span of time? This is over what, 10 years, 5 years, 15 years, 20 years? Over
5 years. However, last year, 2017, when y'all elected that man, I took a year off. I left New York City. I left America altogether, and I traveled around the world. And I started out in Asia. So I could tell you about that because I think I can kind of remember that, freestyle, you know what I mean?
So tell me, all right, so let's start with Asia. Okay. What was the culture like? How was it a big shock for you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so Asia is a beautiful continent, and it's a lot bigger and a lot more vast than I think that we're taught here, that we're shown in the media and film. But I started out in India, Rishikesh, India. It's about a 45-minute flight from New Delhi. And it's coined the yoga capital of the world. And so I went and got my yoga certification, my 200-hour yoga certification. And that was really amazing because the culture there is a lot different from what you would think of India. It's very peaceful. It's vegan. God, y'all know I'm from Texas.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm vegan now.
It's hard. It was hard, but I had no choice. There was no meat around. There was no alcohol, no cheese. So it was kind of like lessons on lessons and blessings from that, because the cows are holy. They roam in the streets. So it's kind of like that's a very different fact. And there are monkeys too that like people always think Africa had, look, they got monkeys just free. Okay, they were stealing my snacks. They were harassing me. They were cute though. I mean, they were cute, but they were bullies. They were
I've heard about that. I've seen like little videos where they just like.
Listen, I got videos. I'll show you later. Aggressive. I'll send you some. They're aggressive. You got a bag of chips. They're coming for you. I've seen them do so many things, but India was really, really peaceful when you got over the culture shock of like the animals and all the things and not having no chicken or. It was really beautiful and peaceful, and the people that you met there were. Because of their religion, they just are more peaceful, and it's very colorful and vibrant. And even though the food is meatless and cheeseless, it's a lot of flavors and it's a lot of gratitude for the day and a lot of softness in the people. And a lot of times they're just happy that you came to visit them. Because I'm in the beauty space, I got henna done. I got Ayurvedic treatments. And learned about things that make women feel beautiful there, the 24-karat gold facials, and I mean, it was just incredible experience. But Asia encompassed so many places. Like I went to the Maldives, and I know a lot of people go there for their honeymoon. Right. It was beautiful as much as you can imagine. But next time I go, I need Bae to come with me because it was just like. Sand
when
and
you
fun
see
just
certain
beautiful.
places,
it was just too beautiful.
Like
just I mean,
for one person, right?
It's just too beautiful for one person. I need another set of eyes. And I did Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was a big one because ever since MIA came on the scene, she reps Sri Lanka and all the injustice there. And it was beautiful to see up close and see some of the temples that just stacked stories high. I visited. Indonesia, Bali. I finally made it, but that was my second trip. So I got to Bali.
Was it everything you anticipated?
It's everything in a bag of chips. It's literally everything in a bag of Doritos jalapeno chips because those are like limited edition. Everything. Bali is incredible. It's one of the heart chakras of the world. I can go on and on about Bali. Like literally, I love it so much that I have dreams about it. Like, it's just beautiful. And I'm so glad that so many people of color are going to Bali because I think that you go and you want to be fly, but you end up finding peace.
Right.
It's just a peaceful place, and it's of such magnitude that it just overcomes you. I mean, I love the spiritual world so much, and it's just very much so available to you. I mean, you can get your stones and your sage and have your chakras aligned, and I mean, it's just the culture there of promoting mental health. And it's something that in the States, unfortunately, it's just kind of swept under the rug.
Was there ever any moments where you felt, I want to say afraid, or was there like, are there any tips that you would give to people who do travel abroad where it's like, hey, make sure you don't do this or make sure you do that before you go to certain places? Because that's a fear for a lot of people, right?
I mean, make sure you act like you got some home training when you go. I mean, assume the position, so to speak, with culture. If you know people don't wear shoes at a certain place because you see that everyone else is taking their shoes, just have some respect for the culture because you are doing it for the culture. Essentially, you do represent Black people, you don't mean to, or you didn't plan on it, but essentially you do, and you are allowed to express yourself, but just know that some things are at stake. I don't know. I'm pretty fearless. That's what my mom says. I don't know. She goes between crazy and fearless sometimes. I don't really operate from a space of fear of something's going to happen. I mean, things did happen that I didn't enjoy. Things happen.
Like what?
Well, okay, so I was having the time of my life when I was in Nairobi, Kenya, at this place that was really popular. I forgot the name, but I really need to say the name because I can't think of it right now. And I was having such a good time that somebody pickpocketed me, and that has never happened. And I just felt so, of course, like, you feel violated. Right. You feel like you're not watching your own back like you normally do. You feel a little bit sad that your own people would, I'm not Kenyan, but I mean, I'm saying, like, I came to visit you like you say I need to. The name of the club in Nairobi, Kenya was K1, and it was highly recommended from my boy Kevin, who had been there. And he was like, it's a bomb club. And it was, like, literally, I was having the time of my life. Like, my travels kind of went up and down. Sometimes there was nightlife, and sometimes there wasn't. And so it was just one of those amazing times, like, and I just got caught slipping. It was the first time, and it's going to be the last time, because now I wear a fanny pack, okay? And I don't play. You got to take my whole body if you want to, steal from. But it was a big inconvenience because I had to get my cards, and shout out to Charles Schwab and Chase for making it happen, because I got my cards within 3 days. But it just wasn't a good feeling, But it does say to be careful when you're on the scene there. And so the warnings are around you. But even though that happened, I just don't operate in, and I don't hold it against Nairobi. I would totally go back to Kenya, and I still had I stayed a month, and I still had a great time. And I got really sick in Asia too when I was leaving India and going into Sri Lanka. I mean, I was sick because it was just a lot of different things in the ecosystem that I'm not used to. New York can be a little bit of a dumpster sometimes. Right. But it's my dumpster and it's my germs, and I can cope. But when you enter into certain ecosystems, I say just try to take care of yourself. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water and you're flushing your system. If you're asthmatic, make sure you have your prescriptions up to date, and you have those things with you that you need, your insulin, things like that. I think that's when I think of safety. I mean, you can never really guard yourself from a natural disaster. I mean, try to pay attention. If you're going somewhere, maybe check the weather or check, what's on the news. But I have a grandmother who calls me and texts me when every natural disaster and every dumb decision that this president makes. So I'm well aware of what's going on
in the States.
At least, right? So I think it's just kind of, being street smart and kind of checking before you go to certain places, the weather, and, there are new technologies in place where you can register with the, where you can register with the embassy of your country, wherever you go. And I think that it's a great idea. I always check in with my hotels, too. Like, hey, I'm going out to this place.
Yeah, what's the story on that?
Is that cool? And, they'll tell you. And, and they know when you come and go in smaller boutique hotels, or I've never stayed in a hostel, but I do plan on staying in a hostel.
I was just going to ask you, where do you stay?
I just stay in small boutique hotels, okay. I know that I will be staying in a hostel. My girl Deidre is opening up Wonder House in Houston, Texas. So I will stay and kind of get that first experience there. But even if you're staying in a hostel, I find that people are, able to come with you to a new place, or, kind of safety in numbers type thing. And the hostel will also recommend. And sometimes I'll go to a hostel and just say, hey, like, are you guys doing any tours? Or, excuse me.
When you mention hostels, I think about that movie. See? And so that's why I wonder if a lot of other people feel the same way as me, because you think hostel and you just have this image in your head, like it's just like, but what is it really like compared to, your traditional hotels that you see? Like, what is a hostel like?
Okay, so I have not stayed in a hostel, but what I don't like about it, I think what is not attractive to me is someone breathing next to you. You don't even know them. Like, somebody, you can hear their breath rising and falling. And it's just not just you. It's like you and like 10 other people in the room. And you don't know any of these people, and they come from all over. Also, people who stay in hostels in general tend to be a little bit younger, fresh out of college. So then it's like the age difference. And I'm a sophisticated lady. And I just didn't prefer it. It's something that I probably will try just to say I've done it. Because financially, oh my gosh, if you can stay in you win. Like I'm saying, there are like hostels that are like $11 a night. I mean, and people complain about hotels and this and that. I mean, that's doable. $11 a night. Come on. I mean, I thought about renting out the whole room one time. Like, can't nobody come. But that's kind of mean, right?
What about Airbnb?
Airbnb is cool. I find that it just depends on the city. And for me, I'm really big on energy. And I feel that I don't really want to stay in your house, but if your house is like a rental space, then it's better for me. I don't know.
I think that's the best one. I can't.
Yeah.
I've heard of stories of like, people like they're there.
Yeah.
I think if you have a rental property, I think the Airbnb thing is great because people are in and out. You don't got to necessarily worry about tenants.
Yeah.
Renting out, and especially if you're in a popular area. Yeah. Or close to some sort of attraction, I think that's probably more ideal than actually trying to rent out to somebody who can't afford to pay the rent after 6 months, and you got to worry about kicking them out.
Yeah, and an Airbnb is really like a breakthrough. It's amazing, and I think it helps.
It's like
so
the
many
Uber
people.
of hotels. Is
really
what I call
is.
It. Like that
it
new
really
thing.
is. Like it's incredible, and I mean, shout out to them because they create just a way for some people couldn't afford otherwise. And I think that's really great. And I like that they're rolling out their experiences. So when you do show up, then you have something else interesting to do without, just a push of a button. So I think that's really dope. But for me, I'm a boutique hotel gal. I aspire to be a 5-star luxury gal one of these days, but in due time. But I think that if I had a choice to travel or not, I'd stay in a hostel. I would, if it was my only.
It depends on your budget.
Yeah,
but
I would do it.
I like that you say because it's like, it's something for everyone, depending on your budget. If you got it like that, and you can do the 5-star wherever you go, I'm sure that's the best experience. But if you somebody who's like, okay, I'm not gonna travel because I can't do that, no, you can do the Airbnb, you can do the hostel.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's funny though, how much time do you really spend in the hotel?
Not
if you're really going somewhere to do something, it's like I look at it as more of like your downtime, your security of your belongings. Like that's really what you're paying for, to feel comfortable knowing if I leave this room or if I'm going somewhere else, I don't got to worry about bringing my bags or hiding my stuff.
Yes.
Like you kind of feel a bit more comfortable.
I agree.
At night especially, right? You feel a bit more comfortable as opposed to kind of feeling like, you kind of get what you pay for.
Yeah, and it's just, there are all types of trips. If you are going to take a trip that's relaxing, maybe you care a little bit more about the bedding and stuff and the quality, and I get it. But in general, like if you're traveling and you're trying to explore, a lot of these countries have really incredible cheap stays, and it's nothing fancy. It's a bed and it's a desk, what I mean, and one like make it work, because it you don't have to live there. It's just temporary,
exactly.
And it can be uncomfortable a little bit, but as long as you're safe, I think that's priority over everything.
What are some places that you haven't been to that you got on your bucket list?
Ooh, like Africa was an amazing run because I did 8 countries, but I would really like to visit Ghana. I'd like to visit Nigeria. Zambia was another one. I met so many cool people when I was in South Africa from Zambia, and Mozambique. I was invited out to Mozambique. I think that what is it? Swaziland. See, I feel like Swaziland is where Coming to America came from, because it's like that. They got kings and queens, and
that's a classic movie.
It's classic, but I want to experience more of Africa. Like I would literally go and do that same trek again, because I did Egypt, and then I hit Kenya, and then I hit Tanzania, South Africa. I did Dakar, Senegal, and that was my second time there, and it was just lovely. And then I did Morocco. And there's just so much more to explore. And I think Africa is just hot on my list right now. Like, I just want to be all about it. But Asia, there's Laos, I'm sorry. And I don't know. I need to try China. I need to challenge myself to try China. I've heard a lot of negative things about it and strange things about it, but I think that you have to go and see for yourself. I know it's like I want to walk into some negative, crazy stuff, but I think it is important to see for yourself. I've done Hong Kong, which is a part of China, but from what I understand, it's not really the real.
It's not the same.
It's not the real. So maybe a Shanghai or Beijing in my future. Sure.
I think
Fiji. I gotta hit Fiji, but that's like Bay time again. Yeah.
Well, all right. Since you bring that up again, why you okay? So is it difficult for you to maintain a relationship with someone because of you traveling, or do you think it's just like what's the deal with that? Do you think does it have to do with you traveling at all? Like you just feel like you can't really stay settled in one spot, so it's difficult for you to create that kind of relationship, or maybe you just haven't found somebody who's willing to travel as much, or like what's the barrier there?
I don't know. It's like I don't know.
Because you got to be around in order to develop something,
right? You got to be available.
You got to be available to some degree. So, are you open to that?
Here's the thing. I do think that a lot of men, especially Southern men, prefer someone that is here. You know, that can be accessible in a physical way, right? Available. Not Skype or, you know. Right. And so I think it is challenging because I haven't met a man who travels in the way that I do. And I'm also interested and he's interested in me. It's always like a cool guy that travels and we, you know, maybe in the same country and like, hey, it's cool, bro. And like, what's up, sis? It's never that natural chemistry. So I just have not found that in that particular type of partner. But I did meet someone recently and they are not a big traveler. But I think that they would be interested, and it's just new, and it always is new, right? And until it's not. So I think you'd have to kind of be okay with me being away a lot, or come on. Why can't you come on? Like, why can't you get your bag? Y'all men don't need much. You need a little t-shirt, a little Hanes, whatever, throw it in the bag, and y'all are good.
A little carry on. That's about it. We don't need too much.
I don't know. So I'm open to the universe. My heart chakra is open. You know, if you know of anyone, then yes, send them my way. I am, you know, I'm open.
Well, I remember, you know, when we first talked, you mentioned that, you know, it's one thing to travel. And I want the listeners to understand that we're not just talking about taking 2-3 days or a week here. You, like when you go away, you go away
about that,
right? And so I'm just as a man, I'm just saying how that'll be difficult to have, especially in the beginning. Now, granted, let's say you had something established. Then, because I'm the first person to say, like, distance is just distance. Because you could be living in the same house with somebody and feel very apart from them.
For sure.
And you could have people that's across the globe that you just have such a strong relationship with. You find, you know, you communicate more than some people who live right in the same bed. Yeah. So it's not so much the distance, but there's usually something there's groundwork.
I get it.
That made that easier. So how do you even develop that groundwork if you're constantly moving? So, and I'll ask you this though, are you, because I'm sure some men will probably, I'm just, if you want to call it devil's advocate, whatever, are you running, is it that you're running from something, or are you running to something? Like, are you just still trying to like maybe find yourself?
It's a good question. I love living. I love living and experiencing, and I love waking up with a new set of eyes all the time. Now, I don't feel that way about people. It's not that, you know, I replace my friends and, you know, I'm very, very loyal, and I'm a free spirit. So I think that it is definitely very challenging. I would like someone to run wild with me. I like to be free. Even if I am in a committed relationship, I like to be free. I will say that a lot of people, you know, one of the biggest questions I get is like, when you're traveling, are you having a lot of sex and stuff like that? You know, it's a huge question.
Women ask you this, guys.
Everybody. It's like a hot topic. And, you know, I'm not I'm not a promiscuous person. I think that there's way too many risks. I think also I believe in that you're exchanging energy, and I don't do that all over. I do want to build something genuine. It's just never who I've been, how I've been ever. And no shade to anybody out here that's like popping international P. You know what I mean? Do your thing, girl. But it's just not who I am. And so it is hard to build something. But I think that once you have that connection, I'm willing to be flexible. I do want to eventually find a home base, but I want to make it very clear that I will never be quote unquote still. Like it's just my spirit is still, but physically, as long as my kneecaps still click clack and work, I want to move around. I want to explore. I want someone to come with me. I would even love to be a mom and a wife and bring my children with me. And I was talking with a friend about the education system. It's not the best.
It's really not.
And I think Jaden Smith said it best, that public schools are preparing children for the prison system. And these children are very intelligent. They're very bored at school. So they're
not really mentally stimulated.
Yeah. Why can't the world be?
Well, at the same time, though, I don't think we'll ever get to a point, or we should get to a point where we rely on school to do that.
I agree.
Because going back to what you said, like I remember I had a conversation with someone when I used to, as a financial advisor, I would always sit down with different people, and I never forget this one lady, right? She literally said she had 2 kids, and she said, and a husband. I think her husband had recently passed away at the time that I was talking to her, but she said they traveled all over the world with the kids, and she was a nurse, regular job, but they did it not by flying. They would get they had one of those trucks. I forgot what do you call them? Like where people
like
like
an
to travel.
RV?
Yeah, like an RV type of thing. And they would and she was telling me stories like they would go. I'm talking places.
Yeah.
Like she would go places like during the summer, when the kids were out of school. She would take them and they would go different places. And some of the places she mentioned, I'm like, wow.
What is that? But you know what? That's a really good idea. And I think that that's balance, right? That's, fair. And I think that's amazing that she did that. I would love to know her and learn, because as I enter into that space of wanting a family, I'm doing so much research, and I'm always talking to women who are moms, or picking my mom's brains, or asking my grandma really weird personal questions, just because I just want to know, how can I set them up for the best, because it's hard out here. It's very challenging. So, if he's out there somewhere, hello, how you doing?
Guys, don't worry. We're gonna leave her info at the end of this, so this way y'all can go stalk her Instagram and all of that.
Well, they already do that.
Hey, look at that. the DMs is popping.
It's popping. I don't really respond. It's like energy and a chemistry thing. Right. I love black men. Even though people act like I don't, I am hard on y'all because I expect more, because y'all are everything and y'all need to know that.
I agree.
But I'm looking for a man who respects his body and his mind. And I think that's really hard in this times. And just someone who is connected. You can get the money, you can get the power, you can get the D and all that. I think that's easy. Those things are very surface and very of the material, where I'm looking for someone who is spiritually connected and he respects a higher power and he is just comfortable. I find that people have masculine and feminine sides, and I think you have to just kind of embrace them both in order to be a whole person. And I know that sounds strange, and I'm not going to, get into all the details, but it's just important for me to have, the right type of man. I think I deserve someone that is special, because he is getting so much. He's going to be so lucky. Guys.
No, I feel you. It's funny that you bring up the fact that you like to travel. Like, people think that you're being promiscuous as a result. Yeah. Because,
I have a sugar daddy. Sorry to interrupt, but I have a sugar daddy. I'm like, where he at? Where him at? Because him owe me money. Where him at? And it's just, it's all these things around sexuality when you're out in the world being a free woman. It's kind of still looked kind of down upon in some people, but I
think some of the reasons, right, at least for guys, and I don't know, I guess I could say for women as well, is that when you go, especially coming from the U.S., there's a lot of people who do travel to other places because they feel like they're treated better by, whether it's, again, it could be the guys that's being treated better by the women.
God.
It could be the women who feel like they're being treated better by the guys. And so as a result, you find that those people, they 4 or 5 times a year they're in these different locations, and a lot of it is because they feel like they're better accepted.
I mean, I'm super exotic everywhere outside of here. You know what I mean? This caramel skin is like cool here, but it's like real exotic everywhere else.
I was just you do feel that.
I definitely feel like I am someone's like spicy little treat or whatever. But I also don't want to be fetishized or whatever it's called. I don't want it to be something that
it's more of a stereotype reason why.
I just wouldn't. I'm not okay,
or just an experience
with that. But I can say that I am appreciated more outside of America. And
do you have an example of any of the places that you went to that you feel like, damn, like they kind of they treated me really good over here?
Straight up, I'll say Milan, Italy. There's like this thing that's going around, like, Italian men love black women, and it's true, they do. Again, sometimes it's maybe not for the right reasons, but a lot of it is admiration. And for me, I only want to be with a black man. Somebody on my Facebook called me racist for that, and I'm like, me loving myself and my brothers it's not racist, but I love y'all, and that's just my preference. And so when I was in Africa too, your girl got show love. I felt like I was royal. I am royal, but I felt really like, yo, you know what I mean? It was a really good feeling. Also Brazil. Now, I read this article about black men, African-American men traveling to Brazil and Dominican Republic to, participate in unsavory activities. And I just hate that sex is being used. I hate it for the women, and I hate that, men are, taking advantage of it.
To be fair though, it's not just black men.
Well, but I don't care about nobody else. But can I say that?
I feel you.
Like, I'm not concerned about other communities. I'm really not. I don't have the energy to care about other communities. God bless them. But my concern and my interest is rooted deeply in us and forever will be. But I just think that it's just a major disconnect. I think that if you want to be cared for and loved and respected, it's understandable. You should want that, and you should also have a different way of communicating it and getting that, because that's a temporary fix. It's temporary for both parties, and But I will say that in Brazil, everyone shows you love. I'm headed back to Brazil actually, in next week is where I'm headed, and it'll be my second trip. So it is, and it's all love, and it's beautiful brown people there too, So
let me ask you this about like Brazil and some of these other places, because of the language barrier. How do you get around that? Because you speak fluently English, obviously. Yes. We're talking in English, but do you speak other languages fluently? Yeah.
I mean, I speak humanity very well, and
so how do you get around in these places?
I don't know. You know what it is? It's just grace, and it's just patience on both parts. I try to learn a few words, and they also want to speak English with me. It's also like a level of intelligence to them and prestige to them. And I think together, because we find a way to communicate. And I'm also like, I'm also really good. I'm comfortable. I'm not looking for anything necessarily special and spectacular. Food, it's a universal sign. I mean, and it gets funny and it gets silly and stuff like that, but it's like pretty simple. Humans are really simple. We all need the same things. So now when you're trying to like get somewhere and it's pressing time, you have to be a little bit more prepared and understand like, how do you get from point A to point B smoothly without, any strife? That's
are you
kind of your
using
responsibility.
like Google Translate? Are you using any of those
I have used
technologies?
Google Translate, but I kind of hate it because it doesn't really transfer the emotion and the feeling of it. So
it's very bland in terms of the...
And I find that also English, especially American English, because there's also the British English and the Canadian English, but American English is so colorful, and we have so many uses of words, and we have so much just fly vernacular, and we just say things that's just not doesn't translate. So Google Translate only gets you so far, but I'm not going to lie, it does help. And I do, I'll use anything whenever I can, But if your phone is dead or if you don't have signal, it's not really helping you. Mm-hmm. So,
do you get people sometime to translate for you? Like you find that you run into a lot of, no?
It's rare. It's not, I don't know. I've had really good luck. I guess I'm lucky. See, that's why you need to understand what you get when you get me. Mm-hmm. I think that it's just
Survivor.
It's Survivor, It's just human nature to interact with people in a way that you don't need words. I guess it's like charades. I don't know.
I do believe I totally agree with you in terms of energy. Like I'm somebody who feels like honestly you could just drop me in the middle of anywhere and I'm gonna make it happen because for one, also I think the way you treat people goes a long way no matter where you are. Right? You treat people with respect. You carry yourself a certain way. You learn that you can gravitate and people kind of come to you. It's good stuff. Things happen to you, and then obviously if you're aware, right, you got to be aware of what's going on and do your research and kind of then you minimize negative things from happening. Things can always happen, but you minimize. You learn how to move on and move forward. Of course. So talk to me. I want to talk a little bit about because you hinted to it a little bit, saying that you wanted to write. You're in the process of writing a book, right? And you got a lot of inspiration from people asking you numerous times about some of your experiences, and you decided you wanted to move forward. That's also part of how we kind of came to meet. Is that and I haven't dropped the pod. Well, at the time that people listen to this, the podcast will be out. Okay. Stacey Thomas. Shout out to her. She's awesome.
She is.
And she's even inspiring me to write my own book around because I get a lot of questions about relocating, and people who are viewing this on YouTube and some of my subscribers, they see some of my previous videos, me coming from New York to Dallas, and it's not so much because at first I looked at it like, what's the big deal? Like it's New York, it's Dallas, right? But then the more that the responses that I started seeing, and I kind of figured it out, like okay, so it's not necessarily where I came from to where I am now. It's the fact that I left somewhere that I was born and raised in. Probably, I had everything kind of set in stone there, and then to just do something different. And I feel like a lot of people, when they reach a part where they're kind of unhappy or they just don't know what's next, they just find a way to just kind of settle into that emotion rather than say to themselves, well, what else is out there for me? And in me doing that it's kind of inspired other people. So I actually felt like, I want to write something to kind of
a great idea.
Say
you have
exactly.
To do it. Now
like,
you have to. You said it.
I put it out there. Oh yeah, I believe that. And so I'm imagining, you obviously reached the point where you said, you know what, I want to put pen to paper. I want to make this happen. So tell me a little bit about what you intend on putting out there.
So I, in my journey, I was searching just for stories. I'm not looking really online for how-tos specifically all the time, or I love when people share their experiences, and Travel Noir is really great for sharing, the stories of the people like me and you that are traveling, Black and brown people. And so when I was searching for like a book, not a lot came up, and Stacey's book came up, Always on the Go. And I thought, wow, and in finding her, I just said, it's something that I have to do. And people had also been asking me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to write it. And that was like a year ago. And then I took this amazing trip, and then I feel like I really have something to write about. So it's going to be a travel memoir about all of the things that I experienced throughout my year of travel, and leaving New York and what that was like, and then kind of immediately thrown into India, and like going through the whole process of getting my yoga certification, and just going through Asia, and then stopping through Europe. I remember that like Nicki Minaj was doing a show in Prague, and I remember she was on her private jet, and she was like, "You bitches can't even spell Prague."
I remember that.
And I was like, "Whoa, Lord!" And then I was there, I was like, "Girl, I can spell Prague, and I can show up." And because I'm all about like sisterhood. Like I'm not like I'm the baddest bee, and okay, we're all bad, but really I want to be a good woman, and I want to share my journey so that you can share your journey, because our stories do matter. And if we don't write the story, someone else is going to write it for us because they've been doing it for years.
Nobody could tell your story better than you.
So I am writing a travel memoir. Right now, it's titled Takeoff, Turbulent, and Landing. So I don't know if I'm going to change
so you heard it.
It is literally a big drop. Okay. I don't know if it's going to change. But
say it once again.
Takeoff, takeoffs, turbulence, and landings.
Okay.
So basically, it's a lot like life. You know, you get that one thing that you want. You graduate from college and you've taken off and it's smooth sailing and you think that everything is going well. You might get that guy or get that girl and you're taking off. And then somewhere in between, there's like bumps in the road, so to speak, but there's turbulence. Things get shaken up. You get scared a little bit. Your stomach drops. And, those are things in life that are inevitable. But guess what? You still land safely, sound, in one piece. And you live to tell your story. And that's what I know there's going to be a lot of funny moments. There's going to be a lot of serious moments. Takeoffs, turbulence, and landings will be about the courageous moments, the moments that I wasn't so courageous, the glorious moments. I mean, there'll be some intimate situations as well that people are asking for, and there'll be some tales of poverty and pain and things that I saw, because when you're traveling, you do see some things that really shake you up and at the same time make you grateful for your life that you're living. And everything from politics to parties, basically, it's literally going to be a really fun read, and it's my story, and I hope that my hope is that it encourages someone to live their best life, fearlessly.
How does your family or close friends, how do they view you? Knowing or watching you go from place to place. What are some of their reactions to some of the things you've been doing?
I think like with my mom and my grandma, I think that with me, it's just like I'm always going to be 8. I'm always going to be like that 8-year-old girl with pigtails, and it's like hella annoying. But I know that they're proud of me because I hear it from other people saying that, your mom told me that you were, and so I kind of get the feedback from them, even though they'll never really show it or say that. Because I think they also worry for me on many levels, my safety, and also if I'm making like the right choices for future, reasons, like the family thing and all that stuff. And I think that my friends, I would think that they are inspired, but they're also really happy for me, for my win. And I think that they know that they have a hand in like those late night phone calls, or like talking me off the ledge, or, making sure that I stay out of jail and stay, those friends know that I've come a very long way. And they also know how much more I want, and they know that I have so much further to go. And so I think that they're just in my corner. I really always say that, like, I don't have friends, I have sisters. Like, if you made it this far in my life, you are literally family, and you ain't going nowhere. So that's how I look at it. And, I think that, like, we all could use more support, and I think sometimes we don't say it. So I think I'm getting really good at like asking for exactly what support looks like for me, instead of expecting people to guess. And so it's been a big help, and I feel confident. I feel powerful. I feel like, it's nothing that I can't do. But I just feel like I got a lot of stuff to do. Like I'm going to be really, really busy, but it's about balance. So
in terms of like your entrepreneurial, goals and things like that, talk to us about that, more of that. Like, what are some of the things you do have, on the horizon? Yeah,
definitely. So I'm creating a body line, and that's in the works. So I feel that there's a lot of chemicals and things that aren't good for your body, and it enters your skin. Your skin is the largest organ, and I think that people don't really know what to use. They want something that's fly, but they also want something that's healthy. And so I'm kind of creating that.
When you say body line,
like soaps, body oils, things like that. And it's a really fun line. I can't drop the name yet, but it is going to be really amazing. Also, we talked a little bit earlier, you and I, about the spending power that African Americans have. And I would go so far as just blacks in all around the world, people of color around the world, tremendous spending power. And often I scroll through Instagram or, something, and I see these brands, and they don't have any women that look like me, but yet and still we're buying into it, you know, their ideal of beauty. And these bleaching creams that I saw on billboards in Senegal broke my heart. And I just want I want us to love our skin that we're in and take really good care of it and, you know, embrace it. And that's why I wanted to really create this line. I mean, it will be for all people to use, but again, you know, I'm very specific in wanting to show that our bodies are beautiful and they're not shooting targets, and they're not, you know, they're not shooting targets. You know, that's not what we are. And I think that we can honor ourselves a lot better. And at the same time, we spend money with these people who don't see us,
don't really value,
and don't see us. And
we gotta have our own.
We gotta have our own, and a stronger economic power. Just overall supporting ourselves and our communities and building our communities. It's simple mathematics. You know, so that's why one thing that I'm working on, and of course, again, you know, writing the book is going to be a big endeavor. But one of my babies that I'm getting fussed at all the time by women in my DMs, I want to do retreats. And at first it was like, oh, are you going to do a trip? And a trip is cool, but if you want to fall, you know, it's like tripping. You know, I don't know. I really like the idea of a retreat. I think that a vacation is cool.
A retreat is totally different.
A retreat is totally different. It's just where I am in the moment. Like I used to go out and I partied. I have had been to some of the best parties all over this country and other countries. So that phase of my life is over. I don't mind celebrating, you know, once in a while. But I think it's something about when you go to a beautiful place, having the itinerary laid out for you, but also being able to take something home in addition to your beautiful memories that you know you're going to have, but just steps into the positive direction of I call it the pretty life, but it's not about the aesthetic. It's about things that are beautiful, art, you know, and again, spirituality. It is culture, you know, it is food, it's health. It's wealth, and that's the pretty life to me. That's why I created Passport to Pretty in the beginning. So I want to create some retreats that have a little bit more meaning behind them. So it's work.
It's a lot to organize things like that.
A lot.
But I think once you get the support and once you do it, you know, the first time, the second time, and people can kind of get accustomed or know, and you learn your ups and downs. Like everything else in life, it's going to be a lot easier for you to keep doing it. Because as long as you have a message, as long as what you're doing it for is genuine and it's positive, and it's helping people, I don't see why I can't succeed.
For sure.
And it kind of ties in everything that you're doing, because you know you still get take care of the traveling aspect of it,
of course,
right? And then at the same time, just taking care of yourself, and because especially mental health, you talked about that earlier, and you say
important.
How other places. Man, there's so much that goes into that, though.
It's a lot,
right?
I know, it's levels.
Because it's weird. Because it's like it's something that we know needs to be addressed, but then literally, when you look out there, every single thing affects that in a negative way. You know, when we look at everything on TV, we look at the way society views this. It's like okay, you know you have a problem. It's like if you have an addiction to drugs, and you know you have addiction to drugs, but then everywhere you go, there's a bunch of drugs.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine
how are we even going to move forward if it's still in my face.
Of course, it's very challenging, and that's why I think when doing these retreats, it's good to pull you out of your environment and put you into something that's going to encompass a lot of those principles that helps you help yourself. I am not, although I consider myself a healer, I'm a self-healer. And I will share with you some of the tools that helped me get to this point, because I am in no way saying that I'm Ayanla, fix my life. Girl, I can't fix your life, girl. But I think that we can work together to make some steps towards the right direction in a happier life.
No, I love that. And I think as people, we should share the experiences that we have and just the knowledge that we have with other people. For one, we don't know what other people are going through. We don't know what piece of information we've learned. And that's why I think information is so important, because even if I might come across an experience that, okay, it doesn't necessarily change my life, but yet then I'll have a conversation with somebody else, and let's say they're into a certain thing, and I remember the conversation I had. I'm like, oh, well, this could help you. Okay, well, here you go. Totally. So I just feel like if we all have that mentality of like information and sharing and growing, then we'll get a lot further than just kind of dumping information and just, getting a lot of empty information and just putting out there negative vibes and everything. It's just like, we're not going to get anywhere.
Of course, I agree. And it's
so the
time.
retreat's a good idea.
It's a good idea, and it's time for us to level up. Level up. What, that challenge? We gotta do it. We have to do it. My mom was like, "Can you do that challenge with me?" We're gonna work on it this weekend. Let's see what we can pull together. But it's time for us to level up, and it's a lot of negative things that are happening that you feel it's heavy. But just level up. When you get above that stuff, you don't even see it. And I think that it's all done on an individual basis. We talk a lot about economic power, and we talk about our health, and we talk about food. We talk about all those things, and those things are so important. But for me, where I can help in this space is individuality, spirituality, like just elevate yourself, worry about yourself, and then we can come together and form something that really makes sense,
So one last thing I want to ask you.
Okay.
People who are watching this, people who, see you on, because you have a pretty good social media presence, right?
It's 12K, shout out to my 12K followers.
It's growing. What do you want people to know about you that they probably just don't know? Like, what do you want people to take away from this, from watching you now, that you really want them to know this about you?
Wow. I would say that I am a sensitive soul, and I don't think people get to see that. And I am here to help. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to be a helping hand, and I'm personal. You can reach out to me. You can email me, you can send me messages, you can talk to me. I'm a real person, that I'm just here for the growth, and anything, and I'm also here to answer any questions that you have. I'm not a closed book. There's nothing, I don't know, somebody said I was all mysterious and stuff, and I heard it a couple of times, but it's really not. I don't know, it's like some kind of optical illusion. That I'm an open book. I'm a sensitive person that cares about the well-being of other people and the growth of our communities.
Okay. Yeah. Now, where can everyone find you? Blast out all your social media. Where can they find you?
You can find me on the gram, mostly hanging out, and it's Passport, the number 2 Pretty, so it's Passport to Pretty. And, drop me a line, like, comment, send me a picture. I love when women hashtag Passport to Pretty, because then I can, post them and shed some light on them. I really want it to be more of a community effort to show other beautiful, powerful women of color, out here doing things, living their best life, because like I said, the narrative of us is untrue, and it's time that we step up and tell our stories and share our stories and our healing and our growth. We are so beautiful.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Woo! We live in the pretty. We pretty. It's just how it goes. We're beautiful. So I love that. So hit me up on the gram and tune into my blog, passporttopretty.com. I want to put more content out. If you have some ideas, I love collabs. I am Diddy in his prime. I love a good collab. I am just here for it. So if you have good ideas, or you want to join me on a trip, any ideas you have, we're community based. So hit me up.
All right, guys. So that's it for Kenecia. I want to thank you again for coming on the show. You're awesome. Guys out there, if you're watching on YouTube, definitely leave a like, subscribe, follow Kenecia on Instagram. She's dope, super dope. See her journey. Subscribe to the Built for Anything podcast. Leave all your reviews. I really, really do appreciate it. It does help out the show. And that's it for today. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace and love, y'all.